Baseball, America's national pastime, a game that features a lot of history, great players, and a very, very specific lingo. While some of baseball's terminology has seeped into our own language, think about how many times you've heard people make analogies to knocking it out of the park, striking out, or getting to third base. There are some unique pieces of baseball slang the average citizen likely has never even heard, let alone understood. Better yet, where most of these terms even came from is, to many, a great mystery. Today you're going to learn how some of baseball's most iconic yet strangely traditional vocabulary words came to be. Here are the backstories behind 5 pieces of seemingly gibberish aspects of the baseball language, and that's coming up right after this. Do you know what this channel is all about? Real men doing real men stuff like watching sports and laughing at failure. And even more important, hooking you guys up with real man stuff. And for as much as we love watching athletes lose, know this: you don't have to smell like one. In fact, it's essential to smell good for the ladies. And that's where Scentbird comes in. Scentbird is an intelligent way of getting high quality brand name colognes for a fraction of the price. With Scentbird, you get the best sprays sent to you monthly, where you can choose new scents and build an arsenal of colognes that the ladies simply can't resist or forget. Ever heard of Hugo Boss, Gucci, Tom Ford, Kenneth Cole? Yup, all on Scentbird. And for only $15 a month, you get access to over 600 brands, each bottle with up to 140 sprays. That's an absolute W. So after this video, click the link below and use my code 5points and get 30% off your first bottle. That's just $10 for top quality pheromones. This month, I copped Burberry and Kenneth Cole, and my wife and randoms at the grocery store love the way I smell. And if I get bored with the scents, there's tons of other products on Scentbird I get for the same subscription price. Again, go to Scentbird.com, enter in my code 5points, and get 30% off your first bottle. You ever hear someone reference the Mendoza Line? No, it's not some sort of politically related border like where Trump's trying to put the wall or anything, or one of the newest Met employees' witty quips. In baseball, it means to hit 200, meaning a player would be below the Mendoza line if they only get a hit less than 20% of the time. Geez, that's pathetic. So by that definition, the Mendoza line is what validates Michael Jordan and Tim Tebow as competent AA baseball players, since both of them somehow hit over 200 at that level. Barely, MJ, barely. While this may show it isn't really an effective benchmark to evaluate players, the Mendoza line is a term still tossed around year after year after year. As the story goes, the term was unofficially popularized by Hall of Famer George Brett, subtly using the Mendoza line as a potentially insulting label in an interview and reference to actual major leaguer Mario Mendoza, a defensive specialist who always batted around 200. This caught the attention of everyone's favorite home run derby commentator Chris Berman, and the rest is history. The phrase has actually since transcended baseball, with the term being used in reference to box office performances and political pollings, for example. Don't believe me? See the Wikipedia page for the Mendoza line. I'm not citing that as an actual credible source for research, but the information you need is there. If an average Joe was to ever take live batting practice in the MLB, assuming they even made contact, they would in all likelihood hit a lot of cans of corn. But what does that mean exactly? I wasn't saying that in this scenario you're literally striking canned food with a baseball bat. A can of corn, baseball fans, is simply a weak, short, and high fly ball a fielder can very lazily approach and casually snag from the air.
Nice catch, Hayes. Don't ever do it again.
A writer for the newspaper, the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, wrote in 2001 that the term can of corn was first used in 1896. It apparently alludes to when a grocer would, quote, use a stick to tip a can of vegetables off a high shelf, then catch it in his hands or outstretched apron. The same article this explanation came from would also add that another potential origin of the phrase is that a certain pop fly is, quote, as easy to capture as corn from a can. The wording here that guy uses is killing me. So next time you see Chris Davis hit a really weak pop-up to the pitcher and get paid $40,000 per at-bat to do so, just remember that it's basically the same thing as reaching up to grab a can of veggies at the store or just taking canned corn out of the can, apparently. Picture this, you're watching a baseball game and the pitcher is someone who throws really hard. Imagine it being Aroldis Chapman or Jordan Hicks, or fine, it can be Big Sexy if you really want. But this pitcher here misses with a fastball up and in on a batter, or maybe he didn't. In baseball, missing near the head of a batter is nicknamed chin music. We can assume the name came from the whizzing of the pure heat blowing by the hitter's face, with the sound being coined music, since any Google search or Content ID claimant will tell you that music is just wiggly air. Funnily enough, this actually was not the original definition of chin music in baseball. Prior to about the mid-1940s, the name chin music was actually used to describe heckling from the fans.
Sell the team!
Since the definition of the term has changed, simply yelling obscenities at Jerry Seinfeld during his next show would not constitute chin music, but throwing a baseball at his face would. And also, what's the deal with airline food? I mean, come on! It's no secret that the baseball team that calls the Bronx home is probably the most hated in all of baseball. So when I tell you that a Bronx Cheer is the next term on our list, and it's in fact a very backhanded remark, you may be able to put two and two together as to how this piece of baseball jargon got started. But for the sake of making 29 fan bases happy, I'll twist the knife in for Yankees fans here. The pinstripe faithful are typically extremely demanding of championships, hold grudges with certain people who seem to obstruct that, and are far from bashful about making sure the entire world knows that these victims are apparently spawns of Satan. Bronx cheering is when fans, mainly Yankees fans, unleash a swarm of boos on a player, or in Joe Girardi's case, manager. This booing has been seen to scrutinize even the smallest of failures. Giancarlo Stanton was facing waves of boos early in the 2018 season for his slow start, even though Yankees fans were unwilling to write this off as a mere slump. Stanton, maybe even to the dismay of some of the more overly spiteful and petty Bronx cheerers, would finish the season with 38 home runs and 100 RBI. Bronx cheering is a simple concept given a fitting nickname in honor of a fan base that's more commonly detested than Kevin Spacey. If you want to see Bronx cheering in action outside of Yankee Stadium, or outside of sports in general for that matter, just read the YouTube comments down below, or anywhere for that matter. Now, this final term almost isn't even slang. It's part of the official jargon of baseball and not used in the same way kids today talk about clout. Typically, when a pitcher strikes someone out, it's referred to as a K, not the same K that's used via text message to acknowledge or shut someone up. The letter K is the scoring symbol used for strikeouts that's often used in place of the actual word strikeout. And lo and behold, there's an origin story for K becoming a baseball term. The first baseball scorecard only used single letters as its marking sign, so you'd think S would work best for strikeouts, right? Only the inventor of the scorecard had already used S for sacrifices. His next choice for labeling strikeouts was with a K, and it has stuck to this day. It's kind of like orange being called an orange before carrots were discovered. Thanks, Dimitri Martin.
What are these? Those are orange. Oranges. What about these? Oh shit.
So when Max Scherzer is said to have put up 300 Ks, your lesson of the day is that it very well should have been 300 S's, as the term refers to strikeouts, and also it does not mean how many times he shortened the phrase okay. Which also has an origin story of its own, by the way, but I'll let you research that one yourself. Hint, it has to do with politics. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, some Bronx cheers, and subscribe for more interesting videos on sports. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to the end of this video.